Okay. שהיה לך קודם? לא. לא, אתה על הראש, לפי דעתי. לא יודע. אתה פה בפנים, אתה לא יודע.
כן, קצת טלוויזיה.
רגע, תוציא. אתה רוצה דווקא להוציא.
רק את הדקות, אולי. אני המנהל שלי, הלו.
סליחה. הלו, רגע. תרימו אותה קצת.
סליחה.
קח תזיז את זה קצת הצידה, זה לא כבד, זה אובדן.
Mr. Perez, just a few months ago it seemed that the Labour alignment was set for a certain victory in the polls. The question then was a matter of how big would the majority be. Yet according to the latest polls, it now looks as though the Likud will be returned to power. What went wrong here?
Well, I'm not so sure that you're reading the polls correctly. Today the situation is that Labour and Likud are running neck to neck. There is a 15% to 20% of undecided people who are going to decide the elections. But surely the Likud has regained its traditional support. We are keeping our strengths. It is the middle group which will decide.
Taking a look at the image projected by Mr. Begin over the past year, shall we say, many people seem to feel that one factor in the current indications of the polls is what's been termed an extremely vigorous nationalistic posture by Mr. Begin over recent events. Do you agree with this?
I would rather not speak about Mr. Begin in a foreign interview, but surely his national or nationalistic position attracted parts of the voters. We have our own traditional values and virtues. We didn't invent them for the elections, and we should stick to our guns.
Jerusalem, you have been quoted as saying that should Mr. Begin as Prime Minister move the office of the Prime Minister to the eastern sector of Jerusalem, then you would probably tend to move it back again. Whether that's correct or not,
I said that if Mr. Begin will do it, I shall recognize it as the headquarters of the chief of the opposition. But basically, the Prime Minister has office today in Jerusalem, and since Jerusalem is one city, I do not see any reason why shift the present location of the Prime Minister to a new one? I think it shows probably a tendency of gesturing or uncertainty. So I think that there is a nice office for the Prime Minister in Jerusalem, and there is no need to change it.
Recently, we've been hearing a lot of talk from President Sadat about Jerusalem, about alternate Arab and Jewish mayors, and so on and so forth. What is your stand over Jerusalem, the area today under the jurisdiction of Mayor Teddy Kollek, what Israel calls United Jerusalem? What future do you envisage for that?
I believe Jerusalem should be united and should remain united. There is no way, no reason, no possibility, and no part in this country which will support the division of Jerusalem. I believe that Mayor Kollek did a tremendous job, not only in restoring and building the city, but also in introducing the kind of relationship between Arabs and Jews which comes closest to a real coexistence. Yet there is one problem which none of us denies, and those are the holy places. There we should and we can guarantee free access and administrative responsibilities to the respective religious groups there.
Does this mean in any way relinquishing any part of Israeli sovereignty over any part of Jerusalem, even to something like the Vatican?
You're right. I think the sovereignty must remain intact as one. If you don't want to create conflicts, if you don't want to have bloodshed, but when it comes to the religious needs, a full recognition to their necessities, to worship their lords, to maintain the ceremonies which they consider important.
But isn't this going to mean then a perennial, continuous conflict with the Arab states that have taken Jerusalem as the rallying cry for their jihad, their holy war?
Well, the Arabs do have to compromise, you know, not only us. And on Jerusalem, which is the only capital the Jewish people do have, and probably the most meaningful place for Jewish tradition on earth, the Arabs must come close to our position, not us to their position. There was a slight move in their position. Even one may consider a slight move in the position taken by President Sadat, him talking about a united city from a municipal point of view. So I believe on that Israel should insist and the Arabs should come closer to us.
Are you happy? Okay, can we change to Tushal? If you just carry on talking, you just carry on shooting, we should be out of here all goes well in a couple of minutes.
Okay, that will be great.
Very grateful that you've done it. Mr. Perez, to give us what will be the basis of the Labour Party's economic policy.
Well, we have two goals. One is to cut inflation, which is still tremendously high, no change in that. And secondly, to renew the growth of the economic development of this country. In order to achieve it, the main measures we have in mind to take is an agreement, a social contract between the government, the trade unions, the manufacturers, to restrain wages, prices, taxes, profits for a given period of time on a voluntary basis. Then number two, to channel most of the savings and the money of the stock exchange into investment in industry, agriculture, and tourism. Thirdly, to encourage exports rather than imports, which is the policy of the present government. Number four, to cut governmental expenses. And number five, to create an atmosphere for new investment in an industry which is going to be science-based, highly technological, very modern, and which will enable Israel to lead herself toward economic independence or balance.
Finally, so we're just before the elections themselves. How do you, Shimon Peres, feel when you look towards election day?
In a fighting mood. You know, you have many obstacles in normal elections. You have some unusual obstacles. I know that some of the positions I'm taking are not popular, but they have the value of being right and courageous, and I don't mind it. I believe that my job is to win, but also to tell the truth. I would like to win on a real, true promise than rather to falsify my positions in order to become popular. So I feel content and strong and fighting. And I lost a little bit my voice.
Thank you very much indeed.